How's that, gang? Is that better? Sorry about that. Let's see, Stuart. Hey, what are we sketching today? Well, it's going to be interesting today. We're going to go through a process here. Hey, thanks very much, Stuart. Good. Thanks so much for tuning in there. Let me, before I begin, let's tell the epic of the day here. I really felt bad about the fact last week unable to stream. Unfortunate incident came up in our family, and I had to take care of all those things. But that's resolved now, and I'm really glad to be back on the schedule here. And today I thought we'd just take a good look at doing some good old-fashioned, really rapid sketch product design work, for example. I really enjoyed doing some of that work last week. Family first. Yeah, well, thank you. I'm in the same boat, Stuart. Thank you. But I thought we'd take a look today at just doing some really conceptual advanced studies for PC towers. Just looking at geometry, different shapes and surface generation, just a real simple ballpoint pen. Hey, doc reveal. Hey, very cool. A doc reveal. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, Chip, but nonetheless, there I am. But I think it'd be a lot of fun today to go through a whole process in terms of getting together with just doing some little product design work and keeping that in steady tune. And so far, so good. I think we just wrapped up a real big program on the Monte Carlo series. Monte Carlo was really interesting, and we still have that portfolio ready to go. But I thought just to turn it around a little bit, instead of going from into the space ship or the science fiction material, come back to just some real good, simple little product design sketches. Just looking at Arctic, nothing fancy. I'm going to go through a series of sketches here on just ballpoint pen and newsprint. Maybe add a little bit of pastel to it, and away we go. So here we are. Let's just kind of get some reference down here. Let's just start with this concept sketch here. Let's get a platform set, and just got to go through some very simple things first here. Let's kind of get this going. Come back in here, put a bit of a center line on it, and begin to guide this guy. Let's just go back and real lightly just start to generate some sketches here. Let's see what happens. Come off of this guy. Let's get this up and just really light. We're just going to go real light first and just kind of get some things generated here and just start to put the pieces together. A little bit of a power pack off to the side of this guy. Come back in and get that rolling real loose. There we are. Put that in place. Let's tilt this thing. Take a little bit of a difference here. Let's pull that up. Notice I'm going real light, just kind of blocking some surface in. Let's kind of chisel this off that shape. Let's get that little brow, that visor put in place here. Let's get that out of the way. Let's get that in. Let's come back and bevel this just a bit. And then put that last little foot in place there. There it is, and there it is. Now let's kind of let's go back in here and really tune this thing in. I'm going to center line on this guy. A break in the band here. Let's get a little bit of negative in this thing here. And again, the power switch. Hold that in place. You can notice real loose, very gesturally. Nothing really tuned in terms of let's draw through this guy to see where we are here. There we are. Draw through that. Just going to explore some different geometry here. See how we kind of get it to explore some things. Instead of being so tower related or so vertical, something a little bit more unique in terms of getting shape down. Man, Mike sounds great. Hey, very good. Thanks, Shadow. Super for tuning that in there. That's great. He just set up a new system here about maybe an hour ago, and my mistake for just blabbing away without being aware of the fact that we were kind of quiet here, and I had the thing on mute. So thanks for tuning in here, guys. Just going to go back and just put some gesture to the sketching. Let's go over into that. So now let's go back in here. I'm going to add a couple more before we start adding a little bit more detail to it here. Nice and easy. Just come back through this beauty. Let's get this. Notice almost every time we start something, I think this is one of the most important things to think about in terms of putting together. And actually, exactness is making me jealous, Stuart. No, don't be jealous, Stuart. This is an old man with a lot of practice going on this process for a long time, and believe me, it's not as a pencil sniper or else a sharpener, one or the other. I probably destroyed more trees in my lifetime you can shake a stick at. But I think the most important thing about the reason going back to this exercise today, I think it was really paramount in terms of getting used to the fact, and especially to tell an audience, that it takes a lot of time to build a sketch. You're always, from my point of view, anyhow, if it helps you at all, going through the sketch process, I'm always thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead. What's going to come in next? What are we going to add? What am I going to delete? How am I going to begin to facet this thing? And above all else, if they heard nothing else here today in this whole stream, hear this very well. The whole process of learning how to build a sketch is literally that, to build a sketch. It's one step upon the other. Seeing it in a platform first, setting up a perspective. In other words, here, let me go back to this. I've just started to set up this little guideline here. Blocked it in, and as I rotate this pad a little bit, I'm just giving myself some reference lines. There's the frame that I'm going to build this form on. Now let's go back in there and just change some things here. And come back downhill just a bit. Come back out here. Hit that. Let's hit that. And again, give it a platform. Give it a stance. There we are there. Now let's come back in again and now open this up. I'll drive that through. And there it is there. So now we have something to stilt on. Now we're setting this thing up, just a nice little process here. So now let's go back and look at how we're going to change the character. I'm going to come back and build a line here. I'm going to build a line here. I'm going to step this form out, step that form out, bevel it, bring it back. Bring it out, draw through it. Another great process, again, for going back to today's stream, is to learn how to draw through something and build a surface and not take things for advantage or for granted. Now let's go back and drive this thing into the form, keeping it pretty square to the world. Come back in through here. Drive that through. Now let's change a little bit of the pace up on top. Let's kind of put this thing into a little bit of button hook on this guy. Let's put a little bit of Batman bit to it. There you are. Let's bring that down. Let's bring this into play. And let's go ahead and just look at how to begin to facet this thing. Let's say we facet it there and we facet it there. All of a sudden, give it a little bit more architecture, just some line work on this shape, just to break up the monotony here. Let's go back in and pick up this. There's a shell area there, the shell there. Let's get a little bit of thickness in this guy. Working right through the form that I've already established. Put a bit of wall thickness in this thing. There it is. And then put a little recess. And at the same time, drive that back. Let's drive that back. And again, let's put some expression in this thing now. Now that I've got that thing pretty well built. There it is. And there it is. It comes off of that shape there. It comes off of that. Again, notice how quickly that came together as a result of getting those platforms to come in and really build the surface with us here just a little bit. Let's have some bit of fun with this thing. Let's kind of come back in and say, all right, let's do this. Let's put a little bit of this into it. Put a marker. That's that. Put a little bit of recess in this guy. Notice real quick, expressive sketches. Nothing really dramatic. Just put a bit of shadow in this guy. And there it is. There it is. Let's get this guy to work here. Let's do this. This is kind of fun. Think of it just being a ballpoint pen sketch. A really rapid sketch rendering piece in here. So we've got to get that blocked in. Lock that in just a bit. Let's give it a little bit more, just a bit more personality. Let me rotate this guy for a minute here. A little more shadow up on top there if we can get it to work. Let's get a little bit of that ballpoint pen action back in there, get a little more of this thing done. Reference into that facet. And a little pass here. Maybe we do this. Just go back and add a little bit of this to it as well. A little bit of color to it. And again, some more touch in this thing. More surface work, just enough to kind of give it a little bit of dazzle, just enough to take it away from being a bit of tone work in there. Let it go with that. Let's go back in and reinforce this little piece here. Real loose, nice and easy. And just get this shadow underneath there. Let's get this piece kind of fly through for us here. Into that, into that. A bit of the underside. There you go. This is a simple series of sketches. Look how that just kind of bounces off the page here for us here. It is. So, what do you think, gang, so far? Is this making sense at all? Hopefully. It's going to go back and just kind of reinforce some line weight here. And for what it's worth, maybe just a little bit more touch of this. Bit of that finesse to it. A bit of a facet break. Let's open that up just a bit. A couple of lightning holes, I think, just a little more detail in this thing. But again, just very simple. I mean, look how easy that comes together as a result of working very fluently. At the same time, just not being concerned about making mistakes. And it's not part of the process. There's just something presence about this whole stuff here. As long as it's a rocket-powered chip, it could be a rocket-powered special, right? So let's go back and just change the character here. Let's go back and get a little bit of this. So a little rounder with this guy. No, it's real loose. Not a whole lot of information here, guys. Just really pushing through concept. The very expression of concept. That's what that really truly means. When you conceive something, it should be rapid and very quick. Nothing really out of the ordinary in terms of getting into detailing, noodling at all. Let the detailing come out later. That's where a lot of mistakes are made, for example, and I'm going to be very careful how I say this. That's where a lot of mistakes are made by a lot of individuals doing the drawing process. They try to predict ahead of schedule what's going to take place without really moving into an area of saying, okay, this is going to be first. Now I'm going to build this. I'm going to build this. So one line upon line upon line upon precept, and it all comes together very fluidly. But if we try to rush it, all of a sudden we find ourselves trying to make compromise, and it just never works out. It's always a real tragedy in terms of not being able to really see what is really taking place with the overall process. So again, today's stream is to really get down to the nitty-gritty of doing some real rapid-fire sketches that just don't get into a lot of detail here, but certainly tell a story. Let's kind of go back and finish this thing up. So again, notice I'm going to work on the platform first. We get that platform established. Just draw through it nice and loosely, very fluid. Then come back and let's break it up. Now let's begin to add some character to it. I'm going to come right in here. Begin to break it up. Change the fascia just a bit. Run that through. Step this back just a touch. Pardon me as I rotate the paper here just a bit. Take that through. And again, a little bit of color. And a little bit of recess in here. You can come back in and pick a little bit of fill up here. of shadow. Notice how simple that is. There's not a lot there, gang, but hopefully it tells a story. What do you think? So far, so good, gang. Am I making sense? Hey, Ballistic, how are you? Good to have you on board. Thank you so much for tuning in. Man, it's good to have you flying in here with us. I'm just going through some real rapid little thumbnail sketches here on some PC stuff here. Let me go back in and just do this. Let me go back and just, let's try this. Let's go back and a little bit of shadow in this thing here. Let's get a little bit of contour in this beauty. A little bit of marker, a little bit of pen. A little bit of pastel, just kind of get some character established here. Let me get a couple of line weights established here, gentlemen, and we'll move on. No, it's flying right through the sketch itself. Very empathic, very emotional, a lot of character, hopefully, and a lot of expression. And we'll just take a little bit of this, lay it in there, pardon me, as I move it ahead. A little bit of hot spot in this thing, blend it in, get that highlight to come across the top of the shape. Plug that in place, rub that in there, and then let's get back to this. A little bit of color here. Now notice, it doesn't take a lot. Let's go back and get this a little more. Let's do a little sneaky thing in through here. Let's do this. A bit of color band on the inside. Let it go at that. Now let's just do this. A little bit of, look at here, nose, a little bit of a shadow or an overhang here. One more pass here. What do you think, gang? Making sense? Let me stop there for a moment. Anybody, any commentary at all here? Been forever since I've been able to watch. Glad of, hey, that's great. I'm glad you're on board as well. But listen, it's good to have you on the schedule here, Chief. Pretty neat. Let's go back here. Let's do this. A little bit more color back into this guy. Well, it'd be kind of cool to try this. Really break it up. Again, these are exploratory sketches. Maybe the back portion of the shell is all carbon fiber. Something really cool. Yeah, that has some impact. Look at that. How cool is that? Really kind of knock this thing out. Put a bit of ghost shadow back in through here. A bit of a resting spot. Line work back in there again. And there you go. There are three quick, really expressive studies on how things might come together in terms of putting together some really product stuff here. Let's see it, Doc. Ferrari case. Ferrari case. Oh, man, you guys are something else. Let's go back here and look at what we've got here. Let's kind of break this down. Let's get a platform in here first. Again, a little bit of tone in this thing. Oh, pardon me, I'm off the screen there. There you go. Ferrari missiles. What about Ferrari missiles? What about more horizontal design? All right, let's try that. Try a horizontal one, okay? A little bit of tone to it. See what that starts to do. There we go. Just some quick little rapid thumbnail sketches. What do you think there, gang, so far? Making sense for you? As not making a Dell case cowboy. What do you think, guys? Is this making sense? Hopefully. What about more horizontal? Yeah, try a horizontal one. How's that? All right, just going to put some heat to this thing. Pardon me as I move around here just a bit. And there you go. There's a horizontal guy. What do you think there, guys? Making sense? Let's put a little bit of little bit of juice in it here. Bring it into flavor. And we'll come back in and pick up some of those lines. There we are. There we are. Let's get rid of some of this stuff too, just to get that. There you go. There's a little family of 5 studies there, guys. What do you think? So far, so good? Coming along all right? Just real quick little thumbnail sketches on what is coming along here as far as just design is concerned. Just looking at different ways of looking at some of the tower systems. I mean, it's not a very, I'm not saying it's a very methodical approach. It's a very spontaneous approach. What about using the architecture? Going vertical, good call here, Cowboy. Going to the horizontal side is kind of an interesting thing. Let's see, maybe we should go into a case design. Yeah, that case management, that'd be kind of neat. And the case man, there certainly is an open market for it. That's certainly for sure. So there's page 1. Let me just do this here, guys. Get this thing signed in. Again, notice, let me go back and review here before I start another page here. I think it's really paramount to talk about this stuff is simply this. Notice in each case, as we go along here with the process, we're not really kind of guessing it. There's a platform being built here. Platform meaning, for example, we're setting up the architecture. In each case, it's 2-point perspective, but the platform, the ground base, begins to help set up what the overall architecture is going to do. I'm a real believer in the fact that you don't really get into a situation where all of a sudden you just find yourself guessing at it, because that becomes tragic. That just does not open any doors whatsoever. It really falsifies the information, puts you in a very compromising situation, and you don't want to be caught there. I mean, that's a real, very, very difficult place to be found in. You always want to know where you are, and I think that's the process that I've always learned from and benefited from, understanding what the platform looks like in each case, and building it up off the ground, so from the ground on up, and in essence, inside that shell. So it's very, very interesting in terms of how it all begins to put itself together, and it doesn't take an awful lot of concentration. Once you know what the rules are, and once you know what the timetable does, you can take that same setup and really begin to open it up and do some really interesting things in terms of being very innovative, number 1, being very committed, number 2, and above all else, be very certain and confident of what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish. It's magnificent how it all comes together here. So let's do this. Let's put this aside and then grab another sheet of paper here, and we'll keep moving along here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get some things done here. Get a little stiffer here. Again, platform. And just follow through with this thing. Give myself an axis line here. It's a little more sculptural. A little bit of a recess here. And a little bit of this, a little bit of 458 Italia. How about that, guys? A little bit of Italia right in through here. A little bit of an insert piece, a little cooling device inside that cavity. There you go. That's a Ferrari. We'll come back in a little bit of color. Give this a little bit of an accent piece here. Let's come back in here with just a little bit more tone here with this thing. Now we'll come back in, put that recess area in there, get that guy to function a little bit for us. I'm going to just throw a little bit of temper in this guy and let it run. How about that, guys? A little bit of a reverse scoop there. Haha, nice. The new Della Ferrari. Yeah, we can make it even more official. Let's do this. So, we're going to make it official. A little bit of Italia in there. And make it really official. How about that? There you go, guys. A little bit of accent color in that. We finally get Enzo to use a computer. Yeah, that's right. Okay, very cool. Let's go back and a little more tone in this thing here. Gonna tone it back just a bit more. There it is. A bit of tone up on top here. Let me turn this sideways there just for a second, gang. Thank you. Well, what do you think thus far, gang? Is this making sense at all? Looking pretty good? Hopefully. Let's see. Let's get a little bit of tone in this thing now. A bit of pastel. Just enough to take the curse off of the newsprint itself. It just kind of warms it up just a bit. I'm just going to go back and get some line work back into this thing. There we are. And one more pass. Let's get this back just a bit here. There we are. And there we are. So there she is. One little pass at it there again. Just looking at shape again. Really interesting how it all comes together. Just looking at different variations in form and what surfaces can do for you and how to treat them, how to work with them, and so on. Makes a huge difference. Let's go back in and just kind of get a platform set up here now. I'm going to block it in. Like we said, all lesson long here. Just looking at, there's a variation in theme right there. Now I'm after it. I'm going to start coming back in and breaking this beauty up here. Let's just do this. Let's do this. Let's take it across in perspective. Let's build this thing back here just a bit. Let's knock it back just a bit in time. Let's roll out of that with this. Change that character back through here. Notice, I'm using that platform. That's a neat thing about putting together this whole concept of getting ideas down and being very fluid with your concept work. It comes down to, again, why the importance of putting a platform together. And once again, let me define what a platform is. A platform is the perspective frame in which you begin to generate your ideas. It takes all the curse off of just trying to guess at it. You know where you are. All these lines are telling us which way in space to direct your concept sketches, and then run it from there. So let's go back and just change the character here just a bit more. Let's do this. And they get a little more adventuresome here. Let's kind of go back and, yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's draw through it. Notice I'm following that line. There's my thickness here. Bring this up, parallel to parallel. Bring this back again. And just like that, just in raw architecture, look how that changed the entire concept of being able to see how that form works when you put it inside a box or a frame. Enormous difficult. Not difficult at all. Just going to put the center line in here. I'm going to trace this right down the hill. Take this back, run it right through, and just add it in to just terminate it. There it is there. Now let's come back in. Again, once again, notice how those drive lines are set up by the actual perspective lines within the platform that I'm working with. Just how it all begins to work together. You open that up. Again, drive line, the drive line, to drive line. And that tells me where those actual insert pieces are going to go. So I can actually use it as a guide, which is the whole concept behind it all. Let's go back into this. Going to move that together. Let's open this up just a bit. And we'll highlight the source here. Once again, just really fluidly, let's put this together. Go a little deeper with that, pardon me. That's better. Once again, notice too how animated I am with the marker. I don't spend a lot of time with that thing because it can actually kill you. If you delay with it, it'll absolutely commit you to suicide. Not a problem. You got to go quick. Very fast. And also become very animated too. You get a lot of tone out of this thing, a lot of reflected light. Let's come around this guy. Now back in again. Second pass, just to get a little more tone. Notice I'm putting a little more pressure on the marker now as I go through this to get a little more shadow. I can reflect that right back into the lower here. Now let's go back in, pick up a little bit of this, a little bit of banding. Into the highlight, let the paper come through, across the upper. There it is. Same process here. Let's break this down. It goes there. And one last little shot out of here. Let's kind of go the other way. Let's just put a little more. One more pass in this area here. Get this thing to reflect back into itself. See what I mean by that? How that second pass, same marker, a little bit of different pressure. Just lets that thing come right back in and reflect itself into the lower portion here. A little more animation in through here. Across that section line. Just rotate that into it. And there you are. Look at that. All of a sudden, you've got a whole different look at this beauty. It's interesting. Tone with pressure. Yep, that's exactly right, Shadow. You got it. Now let's come back in again. If I can find what I did with, there it is. Put a hot spot in this thing. A little bit of tone. A little bit of tone. And we'll come right back down this highlight line here. Establish that. And come in behind it. A little bit of reflected stuff up on top. Yeah, let's go back in. We'll just kind of clean some things up here. Keep that consistent. Same thing here. Keep that nice and consistent. Not destroy that reflection side we had going on here. And come right back and pick up some of the warm lines. Just reinforce them just a bit more. A little bit of that crease. There's another real quick expressive study. What do you think, gang? I mean, is this making sense for everybody? Man, I think maybe with the people we know, we could make these. Yeah, I think we could. I think it very easily could make these. I mean, there's a real need for, I think, a really good, strong aesthetic for towers that are out there, Shadow. I think that's really interesting how that comes together from your point of view here. No question. I think it's just neat stuff to deal with here. So let's go back in here. Let's start another one here. Let's get the volume in first. Now I'm going to come down and just create a nice thin layer here. And I'm going to come out of that layer and really start to explore. Let's go back to that format here. Let's do this. I'm going to go down to here. Let's give me that. I'm going to come out. And then carry on. Now the element of surprise is back here. Look at all those dots all connected as a result of seeing where that initial platform is. I mean, that really, it tells a story, I think. And again, I'm sort of being redundant here today, but I think that's one of the great essences of this whole process, is to learn how to put those pieces together and let that platform, notice that perspective framework built everything for me. So I don't know if Cowboy is still there or Stuart's still there. Just need your help here, guys. Is this helping or hindering? You guys doing okay? Hopefully this, let me know how you think, what you're thinking about this as we go here. So let me just carry on while you're kind of playing a kind of response here. A bit of radius, let's soften this off now. Let's start to finesse it. A bit of radius, a bit of radius. A bit of sidewall in this thing. Just following the lines. The geometry has already been set. There we go. There we are right there. So when they try to make them look like cool, they're looking okay. They're often a nightmare to work. Yeah, that is a good point, Shadow. You're absolutely right. Come down the center line, bring that back. The power switch on and off here. Now, is that what we want? Or we want to do something more like this? Just a little variation of the theme here. Just wanted to test it out, see what it might look like. We'll get this almost bookend piece. It does that. You know, it's almost hexagonal, almost really faceted looking little piece here. Radius it off. Come back inside this guy with a little bit more magic. You want to look at that? I don't know. Let's give it a try. A bit of color in this thing now. Yeah, let's try something else here just for a bit. A little more effective quality inside that glass screen or that panel system there. But let's go back in and look at this from the point of view. All right, what do we do with this guy? Let's put a little bit of this into it. We'll call it a day. How's that, guys? Just enough to take it off the curse of being all newsprint. Just a little bit more highlight in this guy. See if that works on the screen. Oh yeah, that kind of brightens it up a little bit. What do you think, guys? I mean, just some real little simple little variations on theme here. And let's just kind of put these together. Let's do this. Let's combine that effort there. There we are, just a little family of forms off the one side there, guys. Let's see, how are we doing here? Any commentary at all? Great airflow. Yeah, nice. Wow, I love it. It's really interesting how it all begins to fold on here. Let's just do this. Let's come back in here. And again, let's set up another frame. It's nice and easy. Time is I just turn sideways a bit here. Let's get the box system set up here. There's a rectangle. We're going to live in here for what it's worth. I'm going to come back and cut it back just a bit. Change the angle. Come up front here. Change the angle. Run it through just a bit. Get that to come together. Come out again. And just change the cap on this guy. And once again, look what happens when you start to change. Look at that setup. There it is. That's roughed in really quickly. Pardon me. There it is right there. 1 sec. I'll be over. What do you think about that, guys? Just comes over just a little bit more, and it just tells a story in terms of putting the perspective together. There it is. Hey, how you doing there, Shadow?
I have an idea.
All right.
These are looking amazing.
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
I mean, these are like, this is one of the things about PC design that drives me nuts. They look terrible.
Yes.
What's up, everyone?
Hey, Shadow's with us. All right.
So I was thinking, do you like the new setup, guys? Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it is. So far, so good.
Doc's a real person.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
No, what I was thinking is you know how the R8. You remember how like a lot of car manufacturers, you can't customize things like really heavily without huge cost.
Yeah.
Now
right.
Porsche has a lot of customizations, but they cost a fortune.
Yep.
But like, imagine something like the R8, where remember how you could pick the two different colors and then you could pick the side blade.
Side blade.
What if we did something like that in a case?
Yeah.
Because guys, I'm sure you're probably with me on this, but PC case design is pretty horrific. So I mean, and these are, we know a lot of manufacturing people. It might be fun to do a one run on one of these. But what I was thinking is just make it like this case is super cool. And it would actually work.
Yeah. I mean,
as a design.
Yeah, that was somebody kept teasing me about a Ferrari. Okay, you guys, here's a 458. Yeah. But again, something simple like this, or even some of the vacuum pieces where it's actually just a shoulder piece, power module, insert piece on top and bottom, and then that would be the neat thing about doing a panel change, like a carbon fiber, a metallic insert piece of some sort. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I went back to this product realm today about just doing some thumbnails on PC tires, because they're dreadful. They're shoeboxes.
Make it to your house so fast. Doc lives in my basement.
Yeah, we share the same room.
No, so guys, what do you think like on a computer or like a computer case, something like that? Because I mean, we can have a lot of fun with this, and it's actually something we probably could get pretty easily manufactured.
I think so too. Yeah, there's enough manufacturing people out there.
Even if we just did like an ATX case. So I can show you after stream the simplicity of them.
Let's bring those some of those. There's the first pass back. Now these get pretty exorbitant, but even
like
some
you
of the
started. Yeah, I know you started with these, and it was like, well, wait a minute, and then we went here, and this looks like actually an older compact case, which was trying to do a lot of, but they were terrible to work on. And I don't know if you guys ever experienced some of these. They were horrible to work on. They were super cool looking, but they were just they were a pain. But if we thought, because I know how they all go together,
right? Oh yeah,
and you could design it.
If that looks, for example, let me get that out of the way. Pardon me, your channel yet. But I mean, really, the simpler the better. I mean, these are pretty. I'm going through just so we clarify the mission here. Those funky cases were actually, they are terrible. Just to clarify the mission, I went through an exercise here today on just doing conceptual, way out there in the left field approaches to box design.
Yep.
But they're are elements in these, I think, that we can kind of pull from and say, oh, what if we use this? And maybe that's not what, maybe we put that.
No, I mean, like, this is great.
Cooling.
So cooling in a case is super important. And one of the most important things is to actually pull the air through the entire case. So a lot of cases, they'll try and pull air across the whole front, but then they'll only have one
exhaust.
exit. So you're getting a dead zone. So what I typically trying to do is design like a soft S. So it's pulling. It's you're allowing airflow to slow draw in from slow places. And like this design, like as soon as you drew that, I was like, wait a minute,
this, you know,
that
what
would really work.
I'm just having to think of maybe you know what, maybe I might do is maybe continue this story in tomorrow's stream and do some more, you know, like
I can
you
show
and I can
you.
talk together about
Yeah, I can show you what the standards are, and they're pretty simple.
You know, it'd be nice to do though, almost like a catamaran system where the actual this whatever the envelope is an airspace between the two.
Ooh, yeah.
So the actual power unit floats inside the module.
You could do that. Yeah, because a PSU is a pretty standard, you know, rectangular shape.
In other words, I'm not going to. Well, let's do this. In the front view, you can actually have this. You have a center line. Whatever the module shape is in the center here, let's just kind of put some basic.
Yeah, because you have like a long, skinny motherboard in there, and then you have cards that come off of it.
But what if in the outboard you did this? You came off of that with two almost dihedral.
Yeah. And let it run, the air run down the middle.
That's airspace that goes all the way through the entire form.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you could pull air at any moment. Yeah. Oh, that is a good idea.
Really cool. Sometimes it works.
You just leave him do his thing. No, that is a really cool idea.
Like that. No, you could do some great. No, you could actually,
like the case sides can actually be those.
Yeah, that's right. And the other nice thing about that. Let's just finish this off. So I want to keep my page composition nice and neat. Thanks a lot, guys, for screwing it up.
Yeah, Chip, that was and that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is most of the PC components have a standard, a very, very general standard that they follow. That's pretty easy to hit.
That is.
Chip says he's got PTSD from most of the toolless Dell chassis. They were terrible.
I have one. Believe me, I know what you mean, Chip. They're absolute dogs. I think mine was built in 1412, and it's still not working.
He's one of those first steel boats that sunk.
Oh, that's right. But again, there's basic architecture. But if you took that and began to look at these sidewalls, held that and started to fasten, do some really neat stuff on the upward side, stretched it. You could do some neat
what's
stuff.
Really neat about this is and one thing that bothers me with case design is it either has to stand up or it has to be on the side.
Either way.
That could actually work both ways because the airflow doesn't matter.
How about that, cowboy? We got a horizontal.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I'm going to let the doc do his thing. Yeah, I'm going to go back to work.
Hey, thanks, that's always good to have you on board, Shadow. Thanks for all the input. We can do that. We need to follow up on this.
Absolutely.
This would be really cool.
We need a whole week of that.
Yeah.
We can build those.
I was going to do a different stream tomorrow, but I think based on this conversation, let's pick up on some basic things about airflow and basic geometry.
Come over when you're done. I'll show you some standard size stuff.
Super. Hey, thanks for stopping by. All right, Chip, most PC components have standards. I think that's a good point, Chip. What do you think? I mean, we've got some pretty interesting horsepower here to work with. Let me just kind of straighten this up a bit. A little thumbnail sketch here I was going to work with. Now, that's basic geometry there. Now, I'm not really happy with the overall form, but that would get the idea of, let's do this. Here's airflow, and then airflow, and the actual component itself. We can break that up any way we wish. You can actually come back in and spear this thing, do that with it, put the power module up on top. Anyway, that's a really rough little study here, so pardon me for being so scratchy, but nonetheless, let's just kind of put some horsepower in this. Now, let me finish this other sketch first that I started. Let's go back and get these wings all set. So I'm going to come back inside this channel and run that through, and then just reverse that. There it is. That actually forms and it comes through. That's that. That does this. Let's come back in there and get this guy. That this come right through here. Let's change a little bit of personality in this guy. A little bit of that same facet design that we're kind of working with here. Through that center line. There's a power switch there up on top. These are the two wings that are the two outriggers that are on the side of it. Kind of cool. There it is. That drops back in. That kind of stays off. And this is an offset. There is just a piece of geometry. I'm really sorry about this sketch here. I wish I'd have done a better job. Picked a better perspective. That was not a good perspective. Anyhow. We'll get to that later. There it is. Let's put a bit of surface in this guy now. Let's come back and let's just kind of really stream this thing in here. Well, I'm glad that shadow dropped by. That was pretty cool. Didn't realize we had a pretty good hot number here in terms of putting together a PC surface. That's neat. These two baffles here. Let's get this all blocked in real quickly here. Sorry for the time frame here. Let's do the same thing here. These are those air vents we were talking about. This runs right through. You go horizontally or vertically with something like this. Really interesting. Let's put those two together. Pretty strong statement here. There we are. Let's go back and get a little bit of color in this thing now. There we are. Bit of color inside that ribbon. Drop that in the shadow just a little bit and then just run this right through. Let's get that little bit of shadow inside that insert piece here so we're not confusing the issue. And it's going to put this, let's knock that surface out too so you can tell that that's kind of sitting inboard. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for hanging in here with me throughout the entire process here. What do you think there, guys? Hey, Stuart, kidding. Maybe a wall of USB ports, though. Yeah, it was, must have room for at least 2 CD-ROM. Yep, there you go. We can get that. I think we can get that modified. I think, Stuart, not a problem. But I'm glad you're with me still. So good to have you on board today. Let me just put a bit of shadow on this guy here. Take some of it off of there. Put this in the shadow so it kind of reads a little bit more fluidly. And there it is. So what do you think, guys? The flavor of these sketches, is it making sense for you? I mean, they're very quick little, loose, quick and dirty sketches, but I think they're beginning to tell a story here about how this whole thing could unfold. And again, I'll review in a moment when we're all set here to go. Here, let's just put a bit of this. Let's get this last little step in place here. Let's get a little bit of highlight on these guys. So take the curse off of some of that newsprint, a little bit more highlight and shock into this thing, and that's it. So there we are there. Let's get this, and it's going to sneak a little bit of this in here. Go back and get some of those line weights strengthened back again. Let's go back, let's do this. A little bit of ventilation back here. Real quick sketches, and let's see if we can kind of put these guys a little bit of frame together, even though they don't relate. We'll just kind of connect their dots. Composition put together here. Let's put a little bit more tone in this thing so it does not so spooky. That goes into shadow just a bit, and this one in the shadow down below, and this will have a little bit of shadow as well, a little bit of insert piece. And while we're here, let's kind of tone this back just a bit. And for what it's worth, maybe just a bit of hot spot right up on top here. And what we've lost here, we'll bring it back into play. With the chevron to work here. And that, I think, will conclude today's little lesson on how to put together some really neat little thumbnail sketches, hopefully. And that's the sequence of doing some PC towers. Let me just hold on for a second here, guys. Any commentary at all thus far what we've gone through today? Hey, Pixel, how you doing, Chief? Love the new setup. Yeah, me too. Thanks very much. Shadow was kind enough to come in about maybe 45 minutes before airtime and put it all together for me, and really appreciate. It's really been cool. So many thanks to him for the effort put forth, and I'm much happier with it, and I'm sure hopefully you guys are as well. 3D Doc C case. Phew, that'd be. Hey, those. Let me go back. I'm sorry, but I missed a few cases here. Any questions, Cowboy? Likes the CD-ROM drives. Pretty sweet. Yeah. Anybody, any commentary at all about what today's stream was all about? Again, we came out of the Manticore series with a lot of aircraft work and a lot of engineering systems and different looks at certain process and I think just going back a little bit into some basic, just old-fashioned architectural thumbnail sketches, really quick, so that we can just go back and look at some very fundamental thinking process to build some architecture. And I think the key thing today for everybody who's streaming here, watching the stream, is to think in two realms. Number one, whenever you begin to sketch, I strongly advise you to just always work in terms of platforms. In other words, what's the overall architecture starting to do? Let's go back to look. Here's the first page we did here, for example. The architecture sets up everything, all these drive lines, that box system or that frame begins to tell me how to begin to put together certain things, where the drive lines go, how to collapse certain things, how to build on certain things. It makes a huge difference in keeping things compatible and extremely interested in terms of being correct and not having to justify or alter some of the shapes that you're dealing with. You know, let's see, Pixel, always room for missiles. Weaponized PC case, that's not bad. We could do that as well. But again, that was a primary, and then the second page, just as a continuation of that page number one, where we actually did again started really build, even though some did not have the architecture. And I want to be very clear here too, so I'm not confusing anybody. There are times when I use the architecture from a teaching point of view to set up the sketch. In other words, I'll build a platform first and carve it out of it. There are also times, and don't be misled by this is something I really think that's critical to really kind of highlight, and that is this. There are often times when you don't see the structure, but I've over the course of time, gang, I've learned to do the following. I see the structure in my mind's eye. Now, I'm not perfect with it. I'm not saying that I'm a soothsayer at all. I just see it, and you might not see the drive lines and the guidelines, but I'm building that in my vocabulary as I go through the sketch. So it's always been really interested in terms of being able to see how these things unfold. Sometimes I'll use the geometry. Sometimes the geometry is already seen, like example this one. I knew where the frame was. I just started carving it. I do see the drive lines. I do see the perspective lines, but I'm just not showing them. I guess that's the best way to say it. So that's a really interesting setup here today, gang. And I really appreciate all of you who've stayed with me throughout the course of the day. And once again, you don't know how much I appreciate your loyalty in the following here. I missed last week because of a situation in my family, and I missed the streaming all 3 days, but I'm back. I'm glad to be back on board today, and I'm really great with a new camera and a new look. And again, thanks to Shadow next door for putting it all together for me. The guy's an absolute genius, and thank you so much, Chip, Pixel, Cowboy, Stuart, whomever else is on board here. Pardon me if I miss anybody, but thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. We might just carry on with this process tomorrow, and don't be surprised if we go into like phase 2, looking at maybe a potential build system for this PC case. I think we've got some good things to work with here. Last but not least, please take a moment to look at my website, drcontrast.com. I've got a whole series of lesson plans available there for you to look at, and if you don't share them or work with them, I would appreciate if you pass the information along to maybe some of your friends who are interested in drawing exercises. That would really be helpful. They're very simple lessons to deal with. There's nothing elaborate. It's basic perspective, getting the line weight and the light source and the shadow and so forth, and definition of line, surface generation, contour, brochure, a lot of different things involved in that website. And plus, I've got a store. By the way, the ebook is up too, Dynamics in Drawing, thanks to Pixel. If you're there, again, a shout out to you for a tremendous job of putting that book together. It was absolutely marvelous. We're getting some good response. So again, those of you listening, that book can be available. It can be found on my website at drcontrast.com. Feel free to take a look at it. And again, so much appreciative of the time you spent here today. And last but not least, I will sign off because I think it's probably the most important part of the whole stream, and that is simply this. Really interesting, very, very cool. And I sincerely mean it. Never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. I really appreciate the time here today, guys. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and we'll maybe pick up some more steam on this PC cabinet work, and we'll go from there. So, again, take care. Have a great evening. Take care of yourself. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 4 o'clock when we maybe pick this thing up. I've got some neat things planned for the next few streams, so stay tuned. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and we'll go from there. All the best, gang. Thank you so much, and take care.